never love you back.
Voyager 23.
The streets will never love you back.
Hey guys, I'm happy to be back. Today I got a special guest. Don Berlin is going to share the screen with me today. We're going to have a good talk. We'll talk about current events, redemption, my life, things what's going on in the world, a whole bunch of things. But it's good to see you here. Let me give a shout out to Live and Let Live, Miss Can't Be Wrong, Christopher Canali, and to everyone who showed up. I got 45 people in the chat. I'll wait for a couple more. I'm going to put Don on. I'm not going to make him wait because I've been making him wait already. So let me throw him on here.
Hey, how are you?
It's good to see you.
Good to see you. It looks like the new platform is working. The computers are working. StreamYard's working. Everything's working. Yeah, good.
Beautiful.
This is exciting.
I know. I tell you what, it's been a long time, right?
Yeah.
It's been a long time. How's your wife, Kimberly?
She's doing good. She was on the Addiction and Recovery show I think it was on Friday, and people seem to Friday or Thursday. I can't remember which day. Anyway, they all bleed together. But I think a lot of people enjoyed it, and it was educational, and it was sad too, because the tragedy that has occurred with Mims. So, and her friends, and I just want to also echo what Kimberly said on that show and say it here as well, how sad and tragic that loss is to not only her family and friends. Teresa was a wonderful, wonderful giving person. She used the handle Mims. She leaves behind children, grandchildren. It was a senseless, tragic death. We don't know all the facts. It's important to remember that. We don't know all the facts right now. We know what people are talking about, but it's important to let this unfold and see where it goes. Oftentimes, we see these headline stories that are shocking and horrible and tragic and what have you. And then, other things happen during the course of the investigation, which, leads in a different direction. So I just urge everybody to remember her for all she stood for, her friends and her community. And my prayers and thoughts, as I know Jimmy's are as well, are for everybody. So anyway.
Yeah, Don, I'm just trying to fix this screen thing.
Mm-hmm. Let me see. Let me look at my other.
Yeah, I guess I'll figure it out as I go along. You know what it is?
Okay.
Because I haven't been on it so long, so I actually, don't recall how to do certain or how to put us together and things like that. But
well, right now I'm looking at this on another device independent of the one I'm on with the delay, and I can see you and I can see me and I can see the chat. So I think it's working okay.
Okay, good. And let me just give a shout out to a couple of people. Some more people came on. We got 76 people in the chat. I really appreciate it. Beck Brooklyn, I said I was going to give you a wrench, and I'm going to give you a wrench. I have a new laptop, so I'm trying to figure this out, but I'm definitely going to give you a wrench. It might not be today, but once I'm done, I'll go back into it, and I'll figure it out. I lost Don, but there's Don now. Okay.
Sorry about that. That was my bad. Like you, I'm getting used to this new platform on the new computer here, so I lost you for a second, but I'm back. Go ahead.
And Yeah, so Kevin Buchanan, what's up, baby? How's everything? Uh Frisia, how are you? Whitney Lee, Punky Bright, how are you? New Yorker, Miss Can't Be Wrong, how are you, Miss Can't Be Wrong? Anthony Santoro, Scott H, Anna Marie Comet, William Haynes, and all you other people out there who are joining us. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It's been a long time, and it's good to see everybody here. So I got Don Berlin here today. We're gonna have a good show. We're gonna have discussions about basically a lot of things. We're not gonna stay on one topic. Uh, but I'll start with Don. Don will bring it out.
So, I think as your friendly co-host here, my area is international affairs, the military, the intelligence community, the Defense Department. I do want to say in advance, like I got to say, because it's just the way things are. The opinions I express on this show or any others are my own personal opinions. They don't reflect that of the U.S. government, the Department of Defense, the intelligence community, or anybody else in the federal enterprise. So they are my own personal views, my own personal opinions. Just like anybody on this chat, it's just your personal opinions. And some of the things that a lot of people talk about is where are we going in life right now in this country? And where is the country heading generally, for good, bad, or indifferent? Yeah, is it as Ronald Reagan once said, "Are you better off today than you were 4 years ago?" Um, where do I see things happening on the international front from the perspective of the war and its impact on the U.S. Um, and in both the Ukraine and elsewhere? So I can talk about that, but I also, talk about a lot of things that are of interest in, to me, the recovering community, people that, come back from war, have served, our country, and suffer from PTSD, from traumatic brain issues, from other kinds of things that my wife treats on a daily basis. Um, Drug and alcohol addiction and so forth. These are very important issues for me personally. I've spoken about this from personal experience. I've been sober for over 30 years. My anniversary is Christmas Day, 1989. Um, and along the road, I've met many, many people, some of which have made it, others of which haven't. Um, some time ago, when I was in treatment, after I got out, years passed by and what have you, someone asked me once, "Do you talk to your old friends?" And I said, "I'd like to, but every roommate I ever had in treatment, both inpatient and outpatient, are dead today. I'm the only one that's alive." Um, and I look at that, and I look at Jimmy's story, and I look at the parallels between the two and say, is that what the definition of a miracle is? Jimmy should not be alive today for all that you did, for all that you went through. Should
Absolutely.
not be alive today.
Absolutely, I agree with you on that. Let me just give a quick shout out to Boston J, my guy. But
Yeah.
you know,
BJ, my guy too. I love BJ.
I'll tell you, Don, there is so much going on in the world today. Between our country, it's in a big mess. This is probably the end days of America if something don't be done. I mean, listen, I was born 1969, and the way I grew up back then, there was God in all the schools. Uh, I got to learn the Ten Commandments as a kid. They don't teach the Ten Commandments no more. Now, the world has changed, and sometimes, look, there's a good thing about change, and there's a lot of bad things about change too, you know. But there's a lot to talk about. I'm happy I'm back today because you know what, I do want to continue to go on and talk about a lot of discussions, a lot of topics, and just to have my voice heard.
Yeah, definitely. And it's an important voice to be heard because one of the things that you said is key to that theme, and that is change. We are going through significant, almost convulsive change in America today as a result of various different movements which have pushed the country and the populace swinging wildly to the left or wildly to the right, which results in polarization. There are, and believe me, Jimmy, I am not a conspiracy theorist at all. I'm not. I'm a middle of the road kind of a guy. I'm trained as a senior intel analyst, and therefore I look at the zeros and the ones as objectively as I can, much like the umpire at a baseball game. All I do is call the strikes and the spares, and I leave the winners and the losers to the game. That's my world. Okay, but I will have to tell you that there is a strong piece of, I'll call it knowledge in the community, that ascribes to the theory that all of this wokeism and division that you're talking about in the country has a foreign influence. There is a foreign benefactor to that. Now, why do I say that? Okay. And I know this is complex and esoteric, but let me just say it this way. China and countries like China benefit when they undermine the confidence that we have in our institutions. Okay, they benefit by that. That's their whole game. China's number one fear, unlike us, their number one fear that they have is that their economy will collapse, which will cause civil disobedience, much like what occurred in Tiananmen Square. That's their number one fear. Okay. So they do everything and anything they can for economic dominance to pacify their populace so that there's not uprising. Okay. And from a foreign perspective, their number one offensive tactic, at least in America, is to undermine our confidence in our institutions, in our leaders, in our schools, in our religions, in our way of life. Okay. That's the end game. Now that may sound, to some people, well, how does that occur? It occurs just the way you said, Jimmy. It occurs just that way because it all starts in the family, in the neighborhood. If they can tear apart the fabric of the family and the neighborhood, they can detach you from your institutions and what have you. So again, I'm not saying this in a big conspiratorial theorist. There is a basis for this theory. There's a basis. I'm not going to get into anything sensitive or classified or anything else. I'm just talking about what is in the public arena. Okay. And while I see everything, I'm very, very careful what I talk about. And I can tell you that this is a reality.
Absolutely. And Don, a lot of things, like I watch the news every day in the morning time, and there's nothing good on the news. Everything that's on the news, there's always someone getting killed, who's getting robbed, especially of these schools, all these school shootings. Maybe 2 weeks ago, I was watching a guy crying on the news that he just lost his daughter. I think his daughter is maybe 13, 14 years old. I forgot the case. And this girl was walking with this kid. And all of a sudden, this kid is her age. And he decides to stab her like maybe 30, 40 times. And I put myself in that guy's shoes.
Right.
And he's crying there on the podium. He's crying, because he just lost his daughter. And
Right.
I would have been crying too. And I would be so mad. So like I feel for these kids today because these kids don't know how precious life is, and I know how precious life is because I abused life, and I never want to go back there. And I have so many regrets, and I hope that I can open up somebody's eyes through the life that I lived,
Yeah.
And thank God I got a second chance, and I want to use my second chance the right way.
Well, here's my view on that, okay? Just generally with respect to both you and me, but also true for many of the people in the audience, that have suffered from these kinds of problems and disorders and what have you. Yes, okay, you were taken to the darkest avenues of your life, okay, on the Bath Avenue. You were taken to the darkest spaces of your soul when you were involved in that life, involved in the murders, where your friends were murdered, where they overdosed and died in the streets, where you fell victim to the streets. That's a reality. You can't change that. Okay. You cannot revisit and rechange the past, nor can you close the door in the past, nor can you do that. But what you can do, and what I've tried to do, I know I can speak for Chris Ladrago at MobTube, what he's tried to do, and so many others, is what can we do today? What can we do tomorrow to help others and share our experience, strength, and hope with others, that they too don't fall into this same darkest side of their soul, you know? And there, as I said at the outset, therein lies the miracle. Chris Ladrago should not be alive today. You, Jimmy, of all people, should not be alive today, and definitely not me. And so I can't even imagine how many people in the audience who have walked similar paths should not be alive today, but for a miracle of some sort. It's a great mystery. We don't know why. We don't know why we survived and others died. You know, my own personal opinion is this, okay? And this speaks to kind of like what I was saying at the outset with regard to, the issue involving MIMS. A friend of mine, who's a priest, later became a bishop. You know, I asked him the same question that you just asked, Jimmy. Why does this happen, and so on and so forth? That the child that died, and the father that witnessed that. And he said, Don, you know something? God's job in all of this is to care for the dead and the dying. And our job in all of this is to be present in the lives of the people who are left behind. And look up into the heavens and ask the question, why? And hear back nothing but silence. Our job is to fill that silence. Our job is to be present in their lives. Just like when we were on the addiction recovery show for Mims's friends, we were present in their lives. That's all we can do sometimes. That's all, and that is the fabric of community, and that's what's being torn apart. That's what's tragic and sad.
I got FBS here. FBS, what's up, baby? How's everything? So yeah, it's I'll tell you, what, I'm back. I'm happy. I got to have you on here, and I like to continue to do this every week.
Yeah.
I know I stopped for a little while. Listen, in the course of my life, I'm speaking for me. Okay, I can't speak for everybody because we're experienced in different things in life. I mean,
right.
I think I'm experienced pretty much in life where I've been. I fell down, got back up. I spent some time in prison. I lost a lot of friends. I fucked my life up. I'm trying to put my life back together,
Right.
So I keep a small circle. I keep people very dear to me tight, and I keep them protected. That's what I do, because that's how I learned to do it.
Yeah.
And, but talking about this case with Mims, I never got to know Mims, but she said hello to me a couple times. Now, are you telling me that she passed away?
I don't know all of the facts. I would defer to Chris and others who, and this can't be wrong, as to whether it was unclear to me whether or not she was taken home into hospice and then died at home, or whether or not she died at the hospital and is now gone. I'm not certain about that. I've heard it said both ways, so I would defer to someone else. But I know that at the time of the show, anyway, she was either extremely critically ill, and the family had made some choices, or that she had passed away. I honestly can't answer that question. I would defer to Miss Can't Be Wrong. She's more plugged into that community.
I want to give a shout out to Star Wars MCU OG. What's up, Jimmy? Love this channel. Keep up the great work. Lots of people in your corner. And you know what? That's it. That's the thing. I don't realize how many people I have in my corner. And I'll tell you, I have a lot. When I say a lot, it's more than 30,000. I'll tell you that. That's for sure. Because there's a lot of emails I get. And, I appreciate the sincere letters that you sent to me, and the supportive words. It means a lot to me. So thank you all.
Yeah, and isn't that really what's all that is important at the end of the day? You know, that you have people who listen to you and reach out to you and root for you and what have you. I just saw a note here that Miss Can't Be Wrong did say that Mims has not passed away, but that she was receiving, I guess, a version of hospice or comfort care at home. I'm not sure of what her condition is. Either way, without regard to whether she does or she doesn't survive and the circumstances surrounding what happened to her. Um, I just pray that everything works out the best for her and her family, because from a wider perspective, going back to what you were saying about in the schools and what have you, and the fact that things have changed so dramatically. One of them is, and this was brought out in the addiction recovery show that Chris hosts when my wife was on. She talked about last year, from August of 2021 to August 2022, there were 114,947 overdose deaths in America. 67% of them were the result of fentanyl. Okay, 67%. It's astounding. And many of those could have been saved, but it is the future of America that are dying in America's streets today with these children and young adults who are getting involved with fentanyl, not even knowing the catastrophic nature of their consequences of participating in it, because you don't know what you're getting on the street today. You don't. It could be anything.
No, I tell you, if someone gave me an aspirin on the street, I wouldn't take it.
Absolutely not.
You have to be very careful. William Haynes, thank you. I appreciate that. I love you back, and it means a lot to me. It really does. And I see that you're a supporter of mine, and thank you so much. And I'm here. And look, there's a lot of good things to come, and everything takes a little time. But I'm definitely gonna keep Mims, Teresa, in my prayers, and I'm praying that she makes it. And once she makes it, she lives a better life, because life is too precious. And
it is.
I mean, I don't know who she met. I heard stories that she met some kid online, but it just goes to show you have to be careful who you meet. I'm saying, I know some people like to meet other people, but you got to be very careful today who you meet, because you got a lot of evil people out there.
No question about it, Jimmy. No question about it. Not to get, again, complex and esoteric, but there are these artificial intelligence programs that manufacture identities of individuals so that you think that, you're meeting Mr. Wonderful for tomorrow. Okay. But it's a persona that is engineered by software and artificial intelligence. And the next thing you know, you land up with a monster not of your own thinking or dreaming or hoping.
And that could go both ways, on a female and a male.
Yeah.
A male could meet a woman too that can destroy him.
Yeah.
So you got to be very careful. Look, I'm at the point of my life where, like, I'm tired of the nonsense. I'm tired of bullshit. I just want a good life. I want good people around me. I want to see my kids do well in life. And I didn't want to see other people too do well. This is a friend of mine, Mo. Jimmy, you got a very positive attitude. Good things coming your way. Mo, I love you, Mo. You know that.
He's a good guy. Mo is a good guy and a wise guy too. Got a lot of knowledge, that guy.
Oh, I'll tell you, one of the best.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the best. But to your point, you do need to be careful. And one of the things that, people ask me, so, people got to date and they got to meet people and what have you. And because of our crazy world, everybody's meeting people online and what have you. Here's the difference, okay? And this is my advice. If you're going to meet somebody online, that's fine, all right? But do some due diligence on the individual. And if you see or hear silence based on what he's sharing, in other words, you do searches and nothing comes back, beware. Beware. Because that's the first red sign you're not dealing with the person to whom you think you're dealing with. So if they give you information about them and who they are, where they are, what have you, and you go online and start hunting around, and it doesn't add up because it's silent, because he doesn't appear to be the person he is. Okay, it comes back nothing. In other words, that's the first bad sign.
I'll tell you, Don, this internet, look, you have, you could use it in a good way, but there's so much evil lurking behind it. Behind these screens, there's so many people that are evil. And I hate to say that, but this is the truth. You cannot trust anyone behind these screens. I mean, look, I always have people trying to send me messages. I don't reply. Then I have other people trying to befriend me. Okay. And what I do is I look up their names. You know what? They're all new pages and stuff. So what they are is they're trolls, and they're just people trying to get into your head or trying to get into your account. They're looking for something.
Yeah. And, that's what just a short story, but when I was, I think I was on my first tour in Afghanistan, and I had to go away to a course on ISIS and Taliban and the Intel operations center. And I had this instructor. He was really a good guy. Passed away, but nonetheless, he's a good guy. And one of the things he said, this was his kind of like his saying, was, "The silence speaks louder than the volume." Okay, when you go online and you meet somebody and you check him out, and everything sounds silent to you, that is to say, he's not where he says he is. He's not at the address in which he claims. He doesn't have that phone number that you've been checking and what have you. His profile does not match up with what he's saying. That's the silence. Beware of it. He speaks louder than the volume. Okay. So that's tip number one. And then tip number two, I guess I would say, would be, so now you met Mr. Wonderful, the dream guy or girl or what have you. And they send you a picture. Okay. There are ways in which you can use reverse engineering and reverse facial recognition to check that picture and see whether or not it shows up anywhere else, including if it's a fake avatar that's created by artificial intelligence, okay, with a different persona. You see that, run.
I'll tell you, just like you said, sometimes they could also send you a photo where you click on it. And as you click on it, what they're doing is now they have access to some kind of information of yours, right?
Right, exactly.
So you got to be very careful. You got to be very careful with this internet.
Yeah, and that goes to the issue of one of my tours involved working at the Cyber Mission Center, which on both the defensive and the offensive side, what have you. And there have been a lot of studies done on how many, if you will, malignant clicks are out on the internet. In other words, out of the emails you get, suppose you get 100 emails a day. How many out of that 100, contain malware and what have you? The percentage has gone up literally since 2018 to current, has gone up over 300%. Well, again, when you compromise our method of communication amongst one another, so that you have to fear every single email you open or what have you, that it could contain malware or what have you. It really disrupts your level of trust and faith and what have you. But more importantly, when you click one of those emails, okay, that has malware in it or whatever, everything in your computer now moves out of the computer into the dark web. That's how it occurs. When people find your identity, okay, your date of birth, social security number, so on and so forth, and then use it for getting, a new credit card, mortgage, yada yada yada. What's happened is you click something on your email, the contents of your computer then dump out onto the deep web, which is below the internet. I can explain what that is in a moment, which then goes into the dark web, okay? And then it goes to the hacker. And now they have everything in your computer. And I mean everything. all your emails, all your documents, all your passwords, everything. It's like a mirror image of your computer. They're capable of getting that. And now your computer and you are compromised. And it's very difficult to clean that up. Well, it can be done, but it's difficult. So you got to be very, very careful. Don't click anything on an email unless you know who the person is that sent it, and then go to another email, send it to them, send an email to them. Did you just send me this email? Yada yada yada. Trust but verify is the bottom line. Don't click open links like that, because it may look like it came from a friend of yours because it's got his email address, but that is not the case. May not be the case, I should say.
Yes.
So anyway, so back to kind of like what we were talking about before. How many? Let me ask you a question. Someone asked me this: how many people, of all the kind of people that you knew that were involved with the various crews on Bath Avenue, either directly or indirectly, do you think are still alive today? And how many are dead?
Well, you know what? Some of these people that are in this chat are from my old neighborhood. One or two of them, three of them.
Mm-hmm.
But I know exactly who's alive today and who's not alive today. But everyone in my old neighborhood is basically, I'm gonna tell you the way I grew up. I'm saying, but thank you for the question, Don, because we bounce off each other.
Yeah.
It's either you became a junkie and you probably overdosed, or maybe you're still on Bath Avenue doing drugs. And I call guys like that good time Charlies. They're always they're always in the bar.
Right.
So if you're always in a bar, I call you a good time Charlie because you're just always looking to have a good time.
Right.
So that's what they are. They're probably doing the same thing they've been doing for the last 30, 40 years. If not, some of these guys I actually know that a few of them never went to jail, but some of them got straightened out. I'm saying so, some of them are in mob families. And that's the thing of my neighborhood. I'm saying growing up, these guys grab you. Eventually, you're underneath one of the families. You get straightened out. You come in, they straighten you out. They make you. A friend of mine just came home. He's made. He just finished doing 24 years. Tommy Reynolds is going to be home in about 2-3 years. And this is the life. This is just a rotation of the same old thing every day. So you come home, you try to live a better life, maybe invest some money in a business, and try to stay out of prison and try not to kill anybody. That's my way of growing up back then. So as far as being killed, there's a lot of people who died. I'm saying some people were murdered, some people overdosed, and some people went to prison. So that's basically it. I mean, it's a dead end. Unless you have some kind of money. Look, it's good to be a wise guy and have a lot of money because you could invest money. You could get a cafe. You know what? Go to your cafe every day. Maybe open up some kind of legitimate business. And you know what? You could be a wise guy and have money. And that's a nice life too, because they're always rolling out the red carpet for you. You got a couple other guys underneath you that are running around like pigeons for you, and feeding you money every week. So that life is definitely a dead end. But I also want to say something, while I'm on here, because a lot of things on my head that I forget. I want to say, look, there's some guys in my old neighborhood that I grew up with, and they're still friendly with me. Okay, and I want to send this message out there because they need to know. Okay, and these guys get text messages and messages on their phone and stuff like that. What, Jimmy's a rat, this, that. But these guys that are my friends, they don't care about that. But I want them to know, these people that are my friends, God forbid anything happens to them, I'm letting you know, if you're living a good life, okay, forget about me, because I'm the guy that's going to ruin your life. So forget about me. Go on with your life. Whether you're a wise guy in the street, I don't care what you're doing, selling drugs, anybody that's associated with me, do yourself a favor, okay? Leave them alone. Because if you don't, I'm letting you know, you're not going to like the outcome.
That is the sad part of it, and that is that.
Because they think
Uh,
that because guys are friendly with me, they could maybe send them a message, ring their bell. I'm letting you
yeah,
know. If you want
yeah,
to go back to jail, if you want to go to prison, if you want trouble,
right, yeah, and
you're looking for it. You're looking
you know
for it.
what,
The
what
smart
I,
people are the people who stay quiet and they don't say nothing.
yeah.
So stay quiet. That's the best way to go.
Well, I make this. I take that message and make it very simple to the people who doubt. Okay, these people that doubt your old friends and
No,
whatever.
but the thing is too, they think that, they're gonna get away with it. You ain't gonna get
Right?
away with nothing. I'm letting you know.
No, no.
Okay?
And my
Everybody
message,
sees everything, and the closest people to you are the ones that are telling on you. Remember that.
yeah, yeah, and also they're going to be the ones that walk into the room and for which you won't walk out. And what I say to them is be objective. Okay. Again, I'm a guy that's into the zeros and ones. Okay. Very simple life in that respect. Do the body count. Okay. It's very simple. Count up the bodies that are dead from that life and ask yourself, do you want to be another one of them? You know? And I look at this from through the prism of my own life, and what you just shared, how I kind of like turned into sobriety. Okay, I look at it through that lens, because that was not my life. I was in prison, yes, but it was a prison of my own making through drugs and alcohol. I had the keys that put me in jail and the keys that got me out of jail, as every addict and alcoholic does. There's a choice. Okay. And along the road of my recovery, around in March of 1990, this is a deeply personal story. I don't tell it often, but I'll tell it here. Um, I was going nowhere at all in recovery. I just wasn't. It just was not working for me at all. I was still inpatient. I was still, I believe, in the neuro step down unit. I had been very badly hurt, but I was not doing well at all. Um, and I had my first cousin. His name was Ricky. He was like my brother. Okay, I grew up with him. I out of our family, he and I were the only ones that had blue eyes. He went to medical school. I went to law school. He dated girls. He was my age and I was his age. We were in the same age group and whatever. We went to the same schools together. We were like railroad tracks to hell. His his drug of choice was my drug of choice. His alcohol choice was my alcohol choice. We were like, as I said, brothers, like railroad tracks to hell. And I kept on saying at the time when I was in early recovery at Northwestern in Chicago, where I live, I kept on saying to myself, I have been at this place before. I know it. It was so convincing that the nurses and the doctors went off to look at the medical records to say, is this guy like hallucinating or what's the deal? And I finally realized in March of 1990, March 12th, 1990, at 3:05 in the afternoon. It was a day and a time I will never forget for the rest of my life that I had been at that facility before. And it was when Ricky died in my arms in a room 20 feet away from where I was in treatment from what? A drug overdose and an accident. And so the point of my story is exactly your point. For those guys in the street that don't believe this can't happen, do the body count. Do the body count. It does happen. And who knows? I don't know the numbers of how many people that Jimmy you grew up with that are dead or still alive or what have you. But the sad reality is that if you don't believe, okay, just do the body count and see how many of your friends are still around, and that you could be like me just like Ricky, but I chose a different path. So
I tell you, I could probably mention a dozen of my friends growing up
yeah,
that aren't around no more. You know,
but
uh, the ones that are around. Look, they're in prison. They
right,
killed, they sold drugs, stuff like that. They're all underneath a crime family now. I'm saying,
yeah, right,
that's the life they chose. So,
right,
and look, I chose to make a decision to say, you know what, that's a life I don't want,
right,
and that's why
right,
I'm here
yeah.
and there.
Yeah, and thank God you did, because otherwise, you know, you might be joining your friends,
Absolutely.
and you wouldn't be here to inspire, others and what have you.
Let me just to change the subject. So
Yeah,
anyway, because we'll have something to talk about. So Joey Doves is arrested.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. God.
So, so Joey Smokes, Joey Doves is arrested, and he's been in the county jail for maybe 45 days now.
Hmm.
And he's sitting in there for a $2,500 bail. Okay.
Right,
I don't know what he did. Uh Something in Pennsylvania. He's got a no trespassing charge, which for me, a no trespassing charge, I would think you is like a slap on the wrist, and
yeah,
you go home and you
yeah,
get to see the judge.
yeah.
But he's still in there maybe 40 days somewhere in PA, and he's trying to get out, So
Right.
I don't know. Hopefully along the way.
You know, I,
Yeah.
ah, I, you and I both have had our our time together with Joe. He's a wonderful guy. Trust me, I tell you, he is. But something about that story in my everyday experience does not make a lot of sense to me. Nobody sits in jail for as long as he has on a no trespassing case. There's more to it than what meets the eye. I don't know what those. I don't know what the facts are, but it seems to me that a person that has a no trespassing charge, which is similar to a parking ticket, would be out that afternoon.
Well, you know what? That's what I say. I don't understand it either, but I understand that there's a lot of corruption, inside uh, these county jails.
Well, that's
And
true. Yeah.
especially a place like Pennsylvania, right away they want to give you a bill. They want you to make that bill because you're an out of towner. Because he's from Ohio right now. He's in PA, so I really don't understand it. I don't, but hopefully he makes it out quick. He's almost in there, almost 40 days. I don't know how much more time he's got, but I would think, you know what? I mean, you got to come home. I mean, for
What doesn't make any sense to me is that assuming it was like you say, what's been told to us, and that is that it's simple trespassing. Okay, and there's no violence involved, no breaking and entering, no burglary, no home invasion, nothing like that. Just straight trespassing. Okay, he wouldn't even get time for something like that if he was found guilty by a jury, much less just pled guilty. He'd probably get a fine of some sort. Okay, so something else is obviously involved and what have you. But nonetheless, whatever that something else may be, I hope he gets out. He doesn't deserve to be there. Uh, like that. Um, this is a sad, sad situation.
well,
But
and that's the thing. You know what? Like a no trespassing, and he's still in there for 40 days. I don't get it. But
no, no.
hopefully, I'm sure he's going to get out soon.
I hope so, for his sake.
I don't see how long someone can hold you in there for 40 days. I mean,
It's ridiculous. Ridiculous. If it's for trespassing alone.
I mean, look, they're committing crimes over here in New York. I mean,
Yeah.
they're getting caught with guns, they're sticking people up. They're getting a slap on the wrist. They go to the judge, they go home. I mean,
They don't even get to the judge. They don't even get locked up. They just go to the desk, get a ticket, and told to go to court on such and such a date, and they don't. It's unbelievable.
I
You
don't.
know, I mean, it brings in another issue, and that is we were talking about before about the changes in America's um, composition and what have you, the defunding of the police and its impact upon the cities, the rising crime in New York is just it's not sustainable as a model, because when you have the amount of rising crime that you have in New York, okay, and you have a mayor who will not, and a governor who will not address that issue with some fundamental changes. What happens is two things occur in principle. A, there's flight. Okay, businesses flee because why? They can't sustain the model of existing there profitably, so they leave. Okay, and also because they can't get workers. Why? Because they're too afraid to go to work. Secondly, people who are on the upper echelons of society in New York and can afford to leave, they're the ones that leave. But they take with them an overwhelming percentage of the tax that they pay to support the city. So yeah, the wealthy who can afford to leave do leave, but look what they're taking with them. The jobs, the taxes they pay, and everything else. And a municipality cannot survive that kind of model. It gets cored out like a donut, if you will. And fundamental to leadership politically at the local, state, and federal level is you got to keep your people safe. You have to. It's the number one responsibility of a leader in political office is to keep your people safe. Okay. When you have these programs that do not do that, or an antithesis of that, and actually reward criminality, and people do not feel safe and do flee and what have you, what are you going to be left with? I mean, and all you have to do is look at the numbers of how many people have left the 5 boroughs in the last 2 years for places like Florida, Texas, Arizona, and so on and so forth. And how many people are going there, meaning going back to the 5 boroughs. More people are leaving than going. Well, it doesn't take a genius to figure out that the reason for that is not just because they don't like the tomato soup or the pizza. It's because of the crime.
I want to answer this, Sister Via Vegas. Jimmy, a lot of the stories you tell was you were way too young to have been there. So are you just going off of stories you heard? Now let me tell you something. Let me tell you something, lady, because you don't know each other. Maybe you do know me. You're underneath an alias. Look, I was born 1969. Okay. Remember something, 1969. My friend John Polio was murdered April 4th, 1988. Right? He was 19 years old. I was 18 years old. After he was murdered, me and Joey Calco, maybe a year older than me, 1988, we went to go shoot Mikey Hamster. Okay. So you could look at all these stories, and that's when, and I want to get to this story too while I'm here. Let's talk about Tommy Karate, because all these people said I never met Tommy Karate. Now, anybody who knows Bath Avenue in my neighborhood knows that everyone socializes with everybody. Okay. Tommy Karate made my best friend, Paulie Galino, into a monster. Okay. So in 88, me and Joey Calco, we shoot the kid Mikey Hamster. Okay. Joey Calco goes to Italy. I go to Manhattan. I'm on the land. Paulie Galino's in touch with Tommy Karate. Okay. Tommy Karate says, I tell Jimmy to come back. This is 1988. So you people out there have to get your story correct. Okay. We're not going into 92. We're going into 88. Okay. That's when Tommy Karate sat down for me. The first time I met Tommy Karate was in front of his bar, okay, on Avenue West. The second time was in 200 Park, okay, him throwing kicks at me and stuff like that. So anyone who says this, okay, you got to go to people in the neighborhood, because all these people that are creating lies on YouTube, what they do is they just want to blow me. That's what they want to do, okay? you might be one of them too, lady. I don't know. I'm saying.
You know, the other thing is this, and a lot of these haters forget about this. Okay, Jimmy's story, long before he started telling it.
But the thing is, Don, I don't want to interrupt you, but the thing is, look, see, I'm a fan of 50 Cent, and I listen to a lot of words he says.
Mhm.
And I'm not going to be nice to people that aren't nice to me.
Yeah, right.
They-
Cool. Why
And
would
in,
you
the
be?
course, and in the course of my life, what I'm doing is I'm growing.
Mhm.
Okay. There's going to be times I'm going to be silent, but there's going to be times I'm going to speak and I'm going to let you know. Okay. But there's a lot of people I really don't care for. But the people I care and I love for, those are the people I'm going to respect always.
Well,
know?
that's true, but also just to punctuate your point and what is also being said in the chat, um, because this is a fact. Okay, I know this to be a fact. Long before Jimmy appeared on his first appearance at YouTube, the story that he's talked about has been well documented by others in the media. It's been published in books and articles and newspapers. It's been well documented. It's not like he's some Johnny come lately that made up this story for the benefit of YouTube. This has been well written about, okay, by lots of people, including many, many criminal prosecutions in federal court in New York and elsewhere. So if you don't want to believe him, all you got to do is start looking at what's available online. If you want to believe that, go look at the court transcripts. It's very well documented.
Well, and that's another thing. What they do is
Idiots.
no, and they talk about the court transcripts.
Right.
Look, we went to court. I think it was 2002 with Sparrow and stuff like that. Now, look, my life of crime started. Look, when I was about maybe 10 years old. Okay.
Right.
I mean, so and in the neighborhoods, when you're doing bad things, you're actually getting tapped on the shoulder. You know what? You're a good kid. Keep on doing
Right.
it.
Right.
Seriously, that's how the neighborhood is. You got to be a bad kid to be a good
Right.
kid. If you're just a
Right.
good kid, look, you're like this. Stay away from that kid. He's
Right.
too.
Right. And so, like, for example, okay, if this young person, this comment that was made, if you have any doubts about it, talk to the people who were not involved and were witnesses. Mike the painter, for example, he was from that neighborhood. What has he got there? He's a legitimate businessman. He has nothing to hide. Okay. Talk with him. He will tell you as a witness to what happened in that neighborhood that what Jimmy is saying is, to his recollections, what actually occurred. And if you don't want to believe him, there's a dozen other people in the chat who lived in that neighborhood, who observed the events. Okay, they may not have been involved with it, but they were from the neighborhood and observed what it was like during that era. It was a very, very different world back then.
Oh, it was a totally different world.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
It was totally different. Look, back in my neighborhood, I'm going to tell you something seriously. In my neighborhood, if you were gay in my neighborhood, they
Yeah.
probably give you a fucking beating just walking down
Right.
the street. That's
Right.
how prejudiced and racist my neighborhood was. Seriously.
Yeah.
Okay?
The where I grew up in, there's a lot of people here that are from Chicago and what have you. I grew up in the north side, way northern suburbs, but I was always downtown. Okay, and I lived in the generation of the pizza wars. Okay, I knew that war very, very well, close up. The chop shop wars. I mean, there were so many bodies turning up in the chop shop wars down the south side and what have you. It was unbelievable. And as well as the mob wars throughout the 70s and the 80s. New York was no different, no different. The only difference is that Chicago wasn't warring with New York. Okay, there weren't cross-border wars like that. We had our own, and New York had its own, and Bath Avenue had their own. But murder was the way of the life. That's what happened for all of us. I mean, I was also, an observant. I wasn't in that life. I didn't know that life, but I certainly was witness to it.
I have two people in the chat that are from my old neighborhood. One of them is Barbara Rosentretter. Hi,
Mhm.
Barbara. How are you? And her mother used to be she used to paint the nails.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
she used to paint Bobby the Chico's nails. Her mother,
Right.
and
Right.
Some other kid, Joe Antonora, he was from Bath Avenue. He was my brother John's friend.
Right.
So all these people know what the truth is. There ain't no lies over here. The lies are from the other side creating lies.
Right.
Because the people who feel me and understand my sincerity, they don't want people to like me.
Well, there's a lot behind that, and also they're just basically, ignorant of the facts. Someone in the chat talked about, in Chicago, we have the Chicago outfit. Okay. We did not have five families. We had crews, but we did not have five families like Chicago does, or like New York does. But New York was much, much more powerful, though I don't care what anybody else wants to say, but it's a fact. It was much more violent. Okay. Jimmy Couture, the bomber, okay, he had a body count like you wouldn't believe. Billy Dauber was a chop killer. He'd kill anybody. I mean, he must have had 20 to 25 bodies under his count. Okay. I mean, Albert Taco, El Palado, all those guys on the South Side, their solution to everyday pedestrian problems was either a combination of murder or bombings. New York did not do a lot of bombings. Chicago did. It was not unusual that you could be driving down the expressway and boom, your car blew up, because that was the way of life back then.
Look, when we come on this platform, we're going to talk about everything and anything. Okay.
Yeah.
Now
Right.
I also wanted to talk about, there's a content creator that actually he just got picked up the other day. He was actually one of the biggest garbage cans on YouTube.
Yeah.
Right. He was a junkie, a drug addict, a garbage can, the biggest piece of shit in the world. Okay. The biggest piece of shit. Okay. But you know what? He's back where he belongs, in a fucking cage. You know
Yeah,
why?
well,
You know why? Because he's a fucking garbage can. Okay. When you get a second chance in life, when you get compassionate release and you fucking dying of cancer and you're crying the fucking blues and all that shit, and the judge says, you know what? I'm giving you a chance. Okay.
right.
Take this chance and use it well, because
Right.
the second chance you ain't going to get.
Yeah,
You know
and
what? You
gonna be
fucked up that chance. Now you
right.
are where you belong. Okay. You are where you belong. Now you go smell other guys' fucking underarms and their ass and all the other shit. So wherever you end up, I hope you drop fucking dead there. How's
Well, I won't say that vocally, but nonetheless, I understand what you're
I'm
saying.
gonna say that. I'm gonna say that. But you know what, Don? I'm a
Yeah.
God-loving person, but don't push me.
Hey, listen, you're
Okay.
definitely
I ain't no sucker to nobody. I've been
right,
through
right.
the best bullshit in my life.
I listen. I'm the first. I've told my story many, many times. When I was drinking and using, what have you. My deal was fighting. Okay, that was my deal. And bad fights. I was a fighting kind of a guy. I was never arrested, mainly because I was smart. I'd get out of there before the police got there, or make certain the guy couldn't, necessarily do anything to me or whatever. But my deal was fighting and what have you. I did not stick around and take any bullshit from anybody. And I have to always be very mindful of that to this day, that I don't get into, trouble and what have you. But I'm also the type of guy that I don't want to be and won't allow people to push me around. I am nobody's, fucking patsy. Um, but what I can say is that, with regard to this individual, someone gave you a gift to a second life, and you blew it. So you deserve where you're at. And I hope that, as you are sitting there rotting away in that cage, you remember that. But some people, hey Jimmy, some people are so institutionalized that they don't even look at this second chance as a gift. They look at it as I conned the judge, you know,
You,
and
Don, listen, I've been through a couple federal cases before. I'm saying I had a federal case that at the time, when I was 23 years old, a bank robbery. And you know
right,
what? I took that time. I did 6 years in prison. I kept my mouth shut. And it wasn't in me to tell or say anything. But as I'm
Right.
doing that time, I got a lot of shit that's behind me. That's a fucking mess, you know. And when I came home, I'm home 11 street, you know, home 11 months on the street, and of course, you know, I'm indicted on this RICO with Anthony Sparrow, all my friends, Fabrizio. You know, he just got straightened out, and there's 7 murders
Right.
altogether. 7 murders on the case. I mean,
Right.
I'm involved in 3 murders. Okay, I'm at the scene of 3 murders, and you know, I got attempted murder. I shot to kill Leo. You know, a whole bunch of other stuff. But what I'm saying is that if I would have cooperated the first time I got pinched, I wouldn't have done 1 day in jail. Not
Probably
one,
not. Probably not.
right?
Probably not.
Because I would have gave them fucking everything. They would have said, "Holy shit, what the fuck?" I'm
Right.
saying, but the thing is, it
Right.
wasn't in me. It
Right.
wasn't in me. You know why? Because I still believed in that street shit.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But then the second time, you know, once I was on indictment and they killed my friend while I was in prison. Once they killed my friend, when they went to his house, they knocked on his door and they made believe. I mean, they loved him. When they shot him in the back of his head and loaded a couple more bullets in him, I mean, left him on the floor for his mother to see and stuff like that. I
And
said,
on and in his parents' house. Don't
his
forget that
parents'
part.
house, look,
Yeah.
I honestly didn't want this life no more. I didn't. And you
Right.
know what? I will every day for the rest of my life make sure that I do the right thing. And if I can help other people along the way to look at my past and the experience that I experienced in my life to open up your eyes, that's what I'm going to do.
Well, and that, that really is what the purpose of this should be. And at the end of the day, whether it is down the road of criminality, for people who have traveled down that road, made mistakes, and what have you, and wish now to go down a different path and see how things can turn out. I can tell you, that I always look at this is a very controversial thing that I'm about to say, but I'll say it, and I hope that the recovering pitchfork people don't come after me, but I'm going to say it anyway. Recovery and sobriety should be a money making opportunity. I believe that. Okay, don't do it just because you want to be poor. Do it because you want a better life, more money, a nicer house, a better woman or man, and things back in your life that you once lost. That's what recovery is all about. Addiction is all about losing things, losing your friends, losing your family, losing your job, losing your licenses to practice. Losses, losses, losses. And recovery is about getting those things back, and doing something with them that is constructive. Well, criminality is the same thing. It is, you know. When you're engaged in criminality, ultimately, you are going to lose in this day and age.
I tell you, Don, and you said it's very important in life to seek the right partner.
Yeah,
It's very, very important. I mean, look, you have Kimberly. So
right,
sure,
right,
you and her, experienced a lot of things in your lifetime, but I mean, you have to have a good partner, someone that's going to push you, okay,
right,
to follow
right,
your dreams. Because
right.
if you don't have the right partner, I'm telling you, what you're going to do is look, you're going to just sit around, you're going to waste your life, you're not going to be in love, and it's just going to go by, and you're going to look back and say, you know what? I wasted all this fucking time with this person. You know what? That's not something I want to do.
Well, you're right about that. I've said this many, many, many times to my wife. First off, she's the smartest person I know, much smarter than me. But more importantly, she's the love of my life and the heartbeat of my soul. You know, that's what recovery can bring to you. Kimberly has told her story on Chris's show. She's been very open about it, the path that she's followed. And when we met one another many decades ago, um, you know, it was, I call it recovery at first sight. Some people call it love at first sight. I call it recovery at first sight because that's what it was. And it's been an amazing marriage, an amazing journey. Um, but my point is that that can happen to anybody who's listening to us, both on the criminal side and the recovery side. And let me just speak for a moment about, the people, my colleagues, in the Army, Navy, the COCOMs, and what have you, who are suffering from PTSD, crippling PTSD as a result of war. There is hope out there for everybody. If you reach out for hope, hope will find you. I promise you that. If you don't believe that's true, I would not be here today. Okay. Jimmy would not be here today. Many of the people who are in the chat, who are recovering, who suffer from PTSD and survived, would not be here today. But for the fact that they sought hope and found hope. Okay. There is hope. It's hard right now. I understand that war, the violence of war, re-rings those bells every single day of your life. I get that. I've been through that myself. Um, and I understand that. But what I'm telling you is that this is just one page of your life. You can come back from this. Jimmy, in his story, we've talked privately. I'm not talking out of school. Has shared with me some of his most terrible moments surrounding PTSD, and I'll let him share that. But it's a real illness but it's highly treatable, and there are lots of people who have participated in treatment who are veterans, um, that have successfully come back from it and have become very, very productive people in society. We need to do more, indeed, to help our veterans, to help those who are still serving, that are the noble warriors, and that's what I call them, the noble warriors, and that's what they are. People, this came up in another subject on another show that I was on. People are always saying, "Well, thank you for your service." I get that, I understand that, but please, you don't need to thank me, okay? You don't. Thank my family. Thank my friends. Those are the people who allow me to do this work. If it weren't for them, I couldn't do it. Don't thank me, okay, for my service. It is not me that you need to thank. Thank my wife. Thank my friends, the people who love me, support me. Thank Jimmy, who talks with me when I'm deployed, when I have nobody else to talk to.
I have, you know what I mean? I have the, thank God you came into my life. And, I have you because really you're someone that is definitely a teacher in my life. I learned from you.
Well, and I've learned a lot from you as well, things of which I never knew before about about the Bath Avenue story and what you went through and what have you, as well as a lot of other people have as well.
And Dom, I have this PTSD. I go to a therapist once a month. I have no
Yeah,
problem telling people this
yeah,
because I have a problem with trust. I don't
mm,
trust people. I don't.
mm,
For you
mm,
to sit down with me, you got to be pretty lucky because I'm not just sitting down with anybody.
yeah,
I'm not sitting down with anybody. First of all, I got to say, you know what? I mean, is he a person to sit down with? I got to have your character. There got to be something special about you. But I don't sit down with people, and anything I tell my therapist, I know she can't repeat it. So that's why I like sitting down with her,
yeah, right,
because unfortunately, people repeat things. You could say
yeah,
something innocently to somebody, what, look, so and so this, don't say anything, but they're gonna repeat it eventually.
right,
So that's why I like sitting down with my therapist because everything I tell her stays there. I don't have to, whether it's something that's bothering me, whether it's something that's going on in my family, whether it's my children, whatever the case may be, whether how life hard gets. You know what? I sit down with her and it stays there, so I'm comfortable with that.
mhm. Yeah, there's the hardest first step that I remember my first counselor in treatment told me was the most difficult first step for an addict or a recovering person to take is to trust. Because let me tell you, our world of survival while addicted consists of trusting nobody. Because if you do trust somebody, it may lead to A, your death, or B, your arrest. Okay. So you learn not to trust anybody except yourself, your wits and what have you. And then you come into recovery trusting nobody. And for some, even more sad, they no longer trust that there's a God in their life. Now that never happened to me, but I know it's happened to many. But one of the things that I think it was just glancing here at a note that Scott H said, he talked about, unfortunately, the recovery rate for hardcore addiction is not great. He's absolutely correct. And Scott, that's why you, me, others that have gone through that are indeed miracles, because the numbers are so infinitesimally small of people who do have long-term, recovery. That's a fact. Hardcore addiction like that, heroin and so on and so forth, is very, very tough to come back from. But the good news is that, hey, we're here today. We're here today to tell the story and to share and what have you. And so long as we are here, hopefully, people will take our message and go with it.
I'll tell you, there's a lot of, I don't know, as far as a lot of sports games today. I think the Knicks are playing today. I think they're
Right.
I'm not sure. I think they're playing. I think they're at a game 7 or something. I'm not sure. But yeah, there's a lot going on.
There is. And for Washington, well, we're still stuck with a team that is on the block, because this goof is never going to get sell this team. I mean, he's don't get me going about the Washington Redskins or whatever you want to call them, the Commanders or what have you. But how do you buy a team? I mean, I don't know if you know the history of how the Washington Redskins got sold and the circumstances and whatever, and how Daniel Snyder landed up with it. But I'll tell it to you briefly if you're interested. So the Washington Redskins was owned by a family trust at the time. The family that owned it, the principal of which passed away, and left the team to the trust and his children. And the IRS came in and said, okay, now here's the deal. This team we assessed to be valued at X amount of dollars, 800 million or whatever it was. This is like in the early 90s and what have you. And the family did not, have the available, cash to pay off the IRS for the value of the team, because it is an asset. Okay, so they were really forced out. They were forced to sell it. So when it went, ultimately, Dan Snyder bought it. Basically, Daniel Snyder was a magazine man, for lack of a better word. He was mostly into the media, and he was a media mogul. Not like Washington Post media, just magazines and that kind of thing. So he always thought that the Washington Redskins would really complement his media properties, because of its syndication rights and that kind of stuff. So he then built up the team, and today he's trying to get $6 billion in cold hard cash for a team that he bought for $890 million, which is quite the return on investment, to say the least. Now whether he ever gets it or not, I don't know. But boy, I'll tell you, if they do sell that team for $6 billion, the debt service on it is going to be unbelievable. If you think the prices today to get a seat, then first off, where it's located is horrific. The stadium is for shit. Okay,
It's always
getting there. Jesus. It's not in Washington. It's out in the sticks. You got to take the.
It's always like that. The stadium's always in like bad neighborhoods.
How would you like to go there and buy one hot dog for your kid, maybe a beer for yourself, or a drink or whatever for the kid, and it's $24, and that doesn't include $53 to get your car parked.
Don, I bought a hot dog the other day in New York City for $4.
Yeah,
$4 for a
Jesus,
hot dog.
unbelievable. You know, and I get the idea that you're a captive audience in some of these venues. But $24 for a hot dog and a drink is ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. And everything's commercialized.
Oh, terrible, terrible. And the thing is that where they make their money is not on the tickets. It's not even on the stadium. Where they make their money is on syndication and the rights, the imagery, and what have you. Because NFL takes a piece of every single piece of property rights that is owned by the team, for jerseys, for footballs, for this, that, or whatever. Every time you buy something that allegedly contains a legal, team image or what have you, or likeness, the NFL properties owns a piece of that. That's why, how do you justify selling a T-shirt that's probably made literally in the jungles of Vietnam, okay, for maybe about $1, maybe $1, and sell it for 100 or 200 or whatever it might be? It's ridiculous.
What did you guys think about that Garcia fight?
I didn't see it.
Yeah, I think it went to 7 rounds, and then he nailed, and what's his face? Beat him. He gave up. The guy Garcia. But let me tell you about my vacation. I went away. I don't call
right.
I don't call it vacation. Anyway, I got a dear friend. I'll call him Uncle because he's my uncle. That's how he's my uncle. I'm blessed with him. I love him. Anyway, he flies me down with a friend of mine, and this is 2 weeks ago, and we go to Vegas for a couple of days.
By the way, the place you stayed at, shall I say, is one of the top hotels in the area.
Yeah. We were staying at the last time we stayed at the Venetian. This time we stayed at Bellagio. But
both of them are no Howard Johnsons, I can assure you.
Yeah, no, they're really good hotels, and listen, my uncle, he gives me the treatment, everything, treats me like a son. Seriously, I love this guy. And so anyway, now I've been to Vegas before a couple of times, and I was there last year. So after the Vegas trip, I go home. I'm supposed to go home. So he says, Jimmy, you want to come down to LA for a couple of days? So I look at my friend Chris. I said, shit. I said, you want to go to LA? He said, yeah, sure. Let's go to LA. So we go to LA. But before that, now he has a group of maybe 170 people. Okay. So what we do is we go to the Mob Museum in Vegas, me and my friend Chris, and we're walking with the people. We give them a little tour. At the bottom of the Mob Museum, there is a speakeasy with a big bar, some food in the bottom, and we're mingling with people. We're introducing ourselves. We're talking, and I tell them who I am, stuff like that, my past, stuff like that. And people think I was a gangster. I was never a gangster. I mean, I was a thug. I was a hoodlum. Yes, okay. I was never a gangster. Okay, there's a lot of people that they call themselves gangsters. No, they were never a gangster. Okay, I was a thug. I was a hoodlum. Okay, yeah, I had a number on my leg. I was a street kid, and that's what I explained to them. But so we do the Mob Museum, which the Mob Museum was they need to redo it because there's a lot of guys in the Mob Museum that they don't have in there. They don't have gas pipe. They don't have a lot of guys. I mean, right. they need to do it. But so then after that, so we go to LA. Then from LA, he says, Jimmy, you want to go to Palm Springs for a day?
Mm-hmm.
Now, LA was great. I had a great time there. But Palm Springs, I never been to, okay, in California. So I take a ride with him to Palm Springs. And Palm Springs, I fell in love with. Very beautiful, very beautiful.
Oh, boy.
Private. In that when you go to Palm Springs, you really don't see a lot of people unless maybe you go to a casino or something. Maybe you go to a restaurant, but everyone basically stays to themselves. But the place is so peaceful. I wish someday I could go there again, but I had a great time, and I just wanted to share with you people.
Did you by any chance have an opportunity to see, some of the famous homes like Frank Sinatra's place in Palm Springs?
I mean,
Um,
I'm glad you said that. I didn't
yeah,
go to Frank Sinatra's place, but I went
yeah,
to Frank Sinatra Drive. Uh,
right.
he
Yeah,
has a street that's named after him. A lot of the
yeah,
celebrities, old-time celebrities, have streets that are named after them. But I tell
yeah,
you, it was an amazing time for me. The first time ever in Palm Springs. I had a great
yeah.
time, and it was a memory I'll always have.
It's a beautiful town. It really is. It has not been commercialized like other places or whatever, and it's really really pretty there. And the weather you can't beat. And you know, but I envy you anyway. Last time I was in Las Vegas was like 19. This is my one and only Las Vegas story. 1987, I think it was. I went with some friends of mine from Chicago, and one of the things that I was kind of like really good at in an earlier part of my life um, was roulette. I just had the vibes, I could figure out the rhythm of a wheel, and I had my own kind of a system that I would use and what have you. So anyway, so this friend of mine that I'm with and what have you. And I are at the table, at the roulette table, and what have you. And I don't even remember where we were, which hotel, but I think it was what was the old Bailey's or something like that. I can't remember. It was off the strip. Nonetheless, long story short, next I had I'd come in with around $300, okay, and now I'm on my way north of around 3,700, okay, when suddenly a guy steps up. The groupier steps up, and the casino assistant manager steps up. Sir, I noticed that you don't have any comp cards or anything like that. Might we, fill out this form, and we'll comp you, whatever. I said, no, I'm good right now. He said, well, sir, you don't mind if we just sit and visit, do you, back here? And I said, no, whatever. So now I'm at around about 40 minutes later, I'm at around north of about 4,400, 4,500. Okay. And the guy steps back up. He says, Mr. Berlin. And then I figured out, how did he know my name if I only said I'm not interested? That's kind of frightened me. Okay. So he said, I got these 2 tickets for you to go see Don Rickles down the street. I said, Don Rickles, I didn't even think he's around anymore here. He said, no, he's here. He said, I got 2 tickets for you. I said, that's very kind of you. So, so I said, thank you very much. And by the way, cashier, cash me out. I'm leaving. The guy's face, Jimmy, okay, turned to ice. He looked at the tickets and he looked at me and he looked back at his manager and the manager shrugged his shoulders and says he made us for the 2 tickets, the 4,800, and not only that, it looks like he's on his way on his way to the airport because he's checked out. And that's a true story.
And that's a smart move.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
to all the people out there, I don't know if you ever gambled before, because what I mean, gambling runs in streaks.
Right.
Eventually the streak is going to go down. I mean, if you got a good streak, you got to know when to quit. Take the money,
Right.
and run, because eventually you're going to go down. You can't win. Eventually, the house always wins.
House always good. Yeah, you play long enough, and you play hard enough, and what have you, they're always going to win because the odds are always on their side.
And sometimes you could be doing good. You're sitting down. You're doing good. Then you got someone that's come sit at the table. Your whole luck changes. Your whole luck changes for the worst.
Right. Especially if you're playing cards.
Yes.
And then the cards, go against you, what have you. I never did get to see Don Rickles. I was afraid to. I wanted to get on the next plane out, and I did. My $4,721.
I'll tell you, Don. You know what? You talk about these old timers, Don Rickles. You know what?
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I used to love these old timers. You know what I'm saying? I used to watch
So,
my uncle, my father. But I remember one show I'm watching. Don Rickles is sitting at a table. Before he sits at the table, he sits down with Frank Sinatra. He sees Frank Sinatra at the table, so he walks over to Frank Sinatra and says, Frank, he said, could you do me a favor? I'm sitting down with this beautiful woman over here. Could you come over, just say hello, make believe I mean, like I know you, and just, and so Frank says, he says, you know what? I'll be over in a couple moments. I'm saying, so Don Rickles goes back to his chair, sits down with his wife, probably, or girlfriend, wherever she is.
the girlfriend.
Frank Sinatra comes walking over. Frank Sinatra was the best. And he goes, hey, Don, how are you? He goes like this. He goes like this. Who are you? Get out of here. So he made a joke out of it. But that's the Frank Sinatra. But those old timers are the best.
They were. I mean, if you go on YouTube, okay, and look at the shows where Don Rickles was hosting the Tonight Show when Johnny Carson wasn't there, or when he was a guest. Those are some of his most incredible appearances. He had just, I mean, the reason why he was such an incredible comic with his routine and what have you, which, by the way, he was nothing like what you saw. My father actually knew him fairly well, okay, in the work in which he did. He was in a very different kind of industry. But he told me that he was nothing at all like his act. He was a very, compassionate, extremely nice and quiet person. He was he was like that. But what made him such an artisan was his timing was impeccable. He had this timing that when he told jokes and what have you, if you watch some of his old programs on the YouTube, specifically the ones in which he's a guest on the Johnny Carson show or, the Tonight Show, look at his timing. It's incredible. That's what made him so funny.
I used to love to watch Johnny Carson.
Yeah.
He was great.
It was classic.
Yeah,
classic.
He was classic. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, there were none of the hosts before or since that did the Tonight Show could do it like he did it. And he too, he always said, it was his timing. But you talk about a tortured guy, that was him. Really tortured guy. Because and then the life, you do some research on it. The life of what happened to poor Ed McMahon was terrible. I mean, at the end, really sad.
Ed McMahon, he was let's see, he had that other show too, that talent show.
Yeah, he had a whole bunch of them. But he died broke. It's little known, but Donald Trump was the one that rescued him.
Wow.
He Ed McMahon owned a property that was being foreclosed upon, and he was going to be out on the street. And Donald Trump called him up and said, "Listen, I'll loan you the money and what have you, and take the property and so forth." And he stayed there until he died. I mean, it's a little known story, but it's a fact. That's what happened.
This guy was great too, Rodney Dangerfield.
Oh my God, he had a style, with the pie and what have you, and so on and so forth, and the one-liners, and I mean, he was like a machine with the one-liners. And you knew he wasn't reading them. They were practice one-liners. I mean, he was like a machine with them.
And you still got Dangerfields. I think it's on First Avenue in Manhattan.
Yeah. Was that his club, or did he I didn't know the story behind that.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it was his personally, but it's called Dangerfields. It's a comedy. It's a comedy club. It's on First Avenue. But
what's incredible is all those famous New York clubs that Frank Sinatra, Joey Bishop, Don Rickles, all those guys that used to hang out. At and where they got their beginnings. I mean, I know that when I lived in New Jersey, I lived in Hoboken, very long time ago. I lived in a place called the Marine View Plaza, which overlooked the Hudson Bay. But and it was like I think it was around 6 blocks away from the old Clambroth house. in Hoboken, what have you, which is where Frank Sinatra kind of got his beginnings or whatever.
Yes.
But yeah, but what's
Oh, yeah,
incredible is,
Hoboken is a pretty place.
oh boy, that's what I understand. It's
Very
like
pretty.
unbelievable
They got a
compared
special.
to
Yeah, they have a special bakery over there, and
wow.
there's a line for blocks to get in.
Oh, oh my God. Well, Hoboken is definitely not like what it was when I lived there and what have you. I was at a different life. It was before I even got involved in anything in what I do today. I mean, it was long before this career and what have you. I was just a young kid, um, but, um, but I mean, like those famous clubs, all those famous clubs that Don Rickles used to play at, the Copacabana. Um, what were some of the names of those old famous clubs where Frank Sinatra was at? Dean Reynolds, Dean Martin,
You got the
the Copacabana. What other ones were there?
Havana. You have Studio 54. I mean, they all
Yeah,
went there.
yeah,
But you have some older ones. The old
yeah.
time, you know.
Yeah. Where Michael Francis and
Yes,
his
he would
father,
know.
Sonny Francis used to go. I think Michael talked about them on the air. A bunch of them that he used to go to when he was, in the life or whatever. I just can't remember the names of maybe the people in the chat know them, some of the older ones. But I think they're all gone now, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, they're all gone. It's not look, New York is it's a big city. Uh there's a lot of old buildings. It's pretty, but it's not what it used to be.
Oh boy.
It's not what it used to be. Years ago, New York people were known for fast, clever, you know, quick with your tongue, you know, sharp looking dresses. But it's a lot different now. It's a lot different.
Tell me about it. I used to have to take the train up to New York from Washington to go to the JCTC, which is the Joint Counterterrorism Center, which is actually kind of like a partnership, really an important one between the New York Police Department and the federal government. It's down near Federal Plaza and what have you. I thought I was taking my life into my hands coming off the train, okay, right off the bat. It was like armed warfare to get to 33rd Street. And then to walk south, you might as well just like hail down, forget a taxi, an armored car to make it there. It's awful. I don't know how those poor people make it.
Yeah.
So anyway.
But what's new with you, Don? How's everything? How's your wife?
She's fine.
I
She's fine.
I also want to get her on here again.
Yeah, she's very anxious. You know what she's doing? She is working on. She's had really good luck. She finished writing a book that's of a type. I won't spoil the headlines, but it's never been written about before. This particular subject matter, and in the way in which she wrote about it, and she's got like 3 publishers that she's dealing with who are thinking about looking at it, what have you. They're hybrid publishers, and we'll see. I mean, she wants to get the book out, and then she wants to kind of like promote it and what have you. So I think it's going to be really a big hit, though. I really do. I've read pieces of it. I haven't read the whole thing back to back because it's pretty long, but it's kind of like not only her own story, but woven around the spiritual road to recovery, called Rising to Recovery. It play on words of rising to recovery, the spiritual road to recovery. But it's also a lot of science too, of the science of addiction and recovery, and what addiction does to the brain, because she's in the neurosciences area. As I said, she's the smartest person I know. So I'm looking forward to retiring over the book residuals and the movie rights, which I don't know if it'll happen, but whatever.
It'll happen.
You know.
It'll
All
happen.
right. And then beyond that, I think I told you we talked before on the phone about the puppy Lila, and that you wanted one. Trust me, when that
How,
that would be a lot.
how's the dog?
Oh my God! Well, we have 4 dogs. We live on a large farm in Virginia near the Bull Run Mountain, and so the house part is like surrounded by about 6 acres of fence. And then the outer side of the house, meaning in the forest, is like 16 acres, which is, we have no real neighbors per se. And then the lot, is another 100 and some acres. So they have a lot of, area to run around on. Where the horses are and the stables. It's really beautiful. I mean, it really is. It's my wife and I said when we bought the land a long time ago, right after 9/11, before she went to the White House. She worked at the White House. She was on the White House staff. That we were going to move in cartons and move out in coffins, and that is exactly going to be the case. But Lila, the puppy, came from an Amish farm, and I never realized these Amish, they're not exactly good, nice people with dogs at all. They look at dogs as nothing more than a chicken or a cow or a pig or whatever, just another animal. And they live out in on these slop barns and what have you. It's terrible what happens to them, in my opinion. So when she came to us, she was not in exactly good emotional shape. She was in good physical shape, but she hadn't been abused that way. But she was really, had a lot of issues and what have you. And one of them is that she loves freedom and loves running away, okay, which is not good at all, especially if I got to chase in the forest. I mean, I'm in excellent physical shape, okay, but running after this puppy, down in the forest or whatever, is not my cup of tea, especially while it's pouring rain, which is the case right now. So I could see Jimmy, okay, with his new puppy running down the main street where you live. I won't say where. And
My daughter actually asked me today. She said, "Daddy, when are we going to get a dog?" Now,
Jesus.
my daughter has all these stuffed animals, and I'm always watching these videos with animals. I love animals.
Yeah.
Okay, love animals.
Yeah. Right.
And actually, my friend actually has a whole bunch of dogs too, which I tell you, dogs are the best.
They are. But
Really,
before
dogs are the best. They just love you a certain way.
yeah. However, let me say this, okay? Before your daughter goes off and gets the dog through you, okay, both of you come down here for the weekend to the farm.
Absolutely.
And then, if she likes the dogs then, and more importantly, likes walking them and what have you, then maybe you can consider it. But get a taste of what it's like with a puppy first. Hold on. I'll be right back. I got to get a drink of water. Hold on 1 second. I'll be right back.
Go ahead. I always keep a bottle of water next to me.
You're right.
It's always good to have a bottle of water. This way next time. But
yeah.
what I'm going to do is I'm going to share. I had a dear friend of mine, his wife, a lot of quotes. So she wrote down all these quotes, pages and pages of quotes, and she gave them to me. She said, "Jimmy, you know what? I wrote them down. I learned them." So she passed them on to me. There's a whole bunch of quotes on here. So I'm going to share a couple of quotes with you guys, okay?
All right.
Okay. Let's see. One is move in silence. Only speak when it's time to say checkmate.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, that's good.
If you believe it will work out, you'll see opportunities. If you believe it won't, you'll see obstacles.
Interesting. That's good too.
Train your mind to see the good in everything.
That's good too.
Train your mind to be stronger than your feelings. Judge no one, just improve yourself.
That's
But
hard.
yeah, yeah, she gave me like thousands of quotes over here. So every time I do a show, I'm gonna throw a couple quotes out there.
You know what you should do is consider putting those in the crawl. A few of them anyway before the show. That would be a good idea.
I'm gonna do that when we're done.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah. That's a good idea.
Yeah, she passed it
Yeah,
down. So this is the circle of people that I have around me. Someone like you, and it's all about growing now. You know, uh, making my life better, making the people around my life better. Also my children. I want to make sure that they're good to go. But I'm at a different place where I just want to do good, try to make something happen in my life. And you know what? Just keep a small circle, and just be silent about it.
yeah. It's interesting you bring that up. And speaking of sayings, so here is one that goes along with what you were talking about, and that is healthy people attract healthy people, and sick people attract sick people. And don't ever forget that. Okay.
And you know
You
what?
know.
What you just said is so true, Don.
Yeah.
It is. It's
Yeah.
so true because
Yeah.
look, I got a couple crazy people in my life.
Yeah. Right.
I really do, and
Yeah.
I'm trying to. I try to talk to them. You know what?
Yeah.
Obviously, my talking, they're not listening, and
No.
sooner or later, I'm gonna have to walk away from them.
Well, in that regard,
And I don't
when it,
want to, but I have
no,
to because
eh,
if you're making my life, if you're putting negativity in my life, I gotta say goodbye.
there's a lot to be said about that. Because here's the deal, okay? Um, so if you're a healthy person and you're trying to talk to a sick person in a healthy way, you know what that's like? It's like talking to a person underneath a pond of water. What are they going to hear underneath a pond of water? Nothing. Your message is never going to get through. One of the things that I was talking with another good friend of mine, um, Mustache Pete, and we were talking about some of the dynamics of, kind of like what were the dynamics that created what we now know to be the current status of MopTube, and how it's evolved over the last couple of years, which is to me is fascinating from strictly a clinical perspective. I mean, I participate at a level that is mostly from afar and what have you. I like watching the shows. I like the some of the people in the shows and what have you. But my real interest is in supporting the addiction recovery channel,
And
and
Don,
supporting Chris. Yeah,
and Don, you know what? For someone like you, you know, uh, you were a guy that was just basically watching us, meaning Chris, me,
yeah,
Gunsmoke, some
yeah,
other content creators.
yeah, yeah,
In the course of the last 2 years,
yeah,
you see who grew and who didn't.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, and my take on it is best summarized by the saying: healthy people attract healthy people, and sick people attract sick people. I think that on the healthy side of the channel of MobTube, you can kind of see the people who are trying, if they're not healthy, they are seeking to be healthy. They're hopeful of being healthy. They are trying to stick with the winners. They are trying to improve their lot. They're yearning for something, okay, for a message and what have you. One of the reasons why that I strongly support Chris is efforts and what have you. And make no mistake about it, I want to be very, very clear. Okay, you know, I support Chris because what he does for the recovering community basically is that he's there to say, I went through what you're going through. I know that real estate. And I'm here to tell you that you can make it. There is hope for you. Okay. And people who look at that program and look at Chris and what have you and what he's accomplished, it's a very heavy burden upon Chris because the reality is that if he goes down, I mean, relapses, the effect that it would have on the recovering community would be devastating. You know, he carries a huge burden in what he does and risk in what he does, um, because of the responsibility that he has in running that channel for so many. Because the people who come there to the addiction and recovery channel come there because they look at Chris and others and say, you know, maybe if they can do it, there's hope for me. There could be, I may have a chance at doing and being what Chris is and others, you know, that are on the program. So he carries with him an enormous burden and enormous risk, but that he's willing to take that risk and take that burden, so that he can help others. The power of that channel is fueled through the efforts of MobTube, really. I mean, I'm telling you, I've had very private talks with Chris. His life and his world is not in MobTube. It's in the addiction recovery channel. That's where his heartbeat is. Anybody who thinks any different is a fool. They don't know him. They don't know him. That's not where his life is. That's not where his mind is. That's where he has to be to finance it. That's true. Okay. He's got to have a job to do it. He's got to have support from us, from me, from others to be able to do what he wants to do. Okay. But that doesn't.
And I tell you, you know what? He's good at this.
Yeah, he is. He is.
He's good at this. You know, so
Yeah.
so
And the sad reality is, and I hate to say it, but it's a fact, that the reason why MobTube is capable of existing is because there has to be a beef. Okay, there has to be another chapter in the book. You know, another controversy, another guy, another asshole, another this or that, another drama. You know, that is another part of the story, and that's what people tune in for. They don't tune in for violin music. Okay, they don't. So, but if it has to be that way in order for him to do a greater good, that is in the addiction recovery channel. That's why I'm there. I told Chris a long time ago, and if he's listening, I'll tell him again. You relapse, call me when you're either dead or in recovery again, but not in between. Okay? I'm serious about that. I don't have the time nor the patience for people who want to fuck around. You are either in recovery and doing well and struggling, that I can deal with. Okay? If you have problems, I can deal with that. I'm there for you every walk of the way. Okay? But I don't have time for bullshit. And just like you were saying, Jimmy, for a lot of these assholes who are calling and bothering you and whatever and trying to make, make a situation so that you gotta, spend your time with assholes and whatever, forget it. Move on.
Of course, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I tell you, you know what? I'm happy for Chris for the fact of look, he made a job out of it.
Yeah.
He made a job out of it, and he's good at what he does. That's good. Good for him.
Well, not only did he make a job out of it, and he earns money and a lot of money, through it and what have you. But unlike any other content creator that I've come across, there is another side of that coin where he's doing something with the money and his time and his effort for the greater good of a community that really needs him. Okay. And nobody I know, and listen, I've been around for many, many, many yesterdays. Okay. I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly in recovery, the phonies and the good ones. I can tell you, having met thousands of people in the program and what have you, and in recovery and sobriety and so forth, I've never met anybody who is as devoted to his own sobriety, to his own recovery, and the path that he wants to lead.
There's Chris now.
Where is he?
I just put him up. I mean, what, you want me to drop a link for him?
Sure.
You want to come on, FBS?
Of course.
That's if I even know how to do this again.
I sent him the link because he was going to broadcast it on his platform. But I don't know if it'll work for him to come in or not. Chris, if you're listening, take a look at your WhatsApp or your private and then see if you can come in.
I don't even know how to do this again.
You remember the invite you sent to me via
Yeah,
email? Do
yeah.
that. But the problem is Chris has changed his number to a private number. I don't want to, so it won't go. The number you have for him won't work.
Let me see. Hold up.
I think. Hold on, let me see. Oh, wait a minute. I just got a note from him. He says he's at the gym. He's
Yeah.
watching you while on the treadmill.
Okay.
And my wife says, I'd love to come on the air, but tell him I'm ironing and with my hair in curlers. What does that mean? I'm on, but I don't know. There's two pictures of me and none of you, Jimmy. Are you still there? Bad news, people. Hold on. Let me look at the.
There he goes.
Very good.
Yeah, you know what it is? I just got this new laptop. I don't know how to work it yet, and I'm just learning how to do this again.
Yeah, let me text Chris. He's at the gym. Jimmy wanted to send you the link to come on if you are.
Yeah, let him work out. He's good. Let him work out.
Yeah, but he's got to take his time because otherwise, if he's on the if he's lifting too much weights, he could have a heart attack and keel over dead in the ditch. So he should get off the weight machine and come on. Let's see. Do you want to send you the link to one if you're on the treadmill too long? You could die. Let's see what he says. Whoops, die. All right. Anyway, we'll see if he takes a moment and what have you. But to go back to your point about, what I was saying too about healthy people attract healthy people. I'm sorry that the people who are knocking on your door are driving you nuts, but you're a popular guy and you get a lot of traffic, so you got to go with the good and leave the bad alone. Speaking of healthy people, how's things going with Chaz and his platform?
Yeah, I'll tell you, Chaz is good. Look, Chaz is very. I'll tell you, I look at him. He's very wise. I mean, all these old timers, they're very wise. I mean, I love watching his. He has great quotes. He's very entertaining to watch. Look, everyone thinks like I'm so tight with Chaz. I'm not tight with Chaz like that. I'm saying, I spent some time with him. I met him in Vegas. I got invited to his house. I did a show with him. I thank God. He's in my life. Sandy Blue Eyes. I'm friendly with him. But look, these people too. They know who's real and who's not. They ain't stupid. They're very smart people. And, even when you meet them and you're in front of them, they know if you're a good person and if you're not a good person.
But I agree with you. And here's the reason.
And the thing is, let me just finish. They think, a lot of people think that, they could reach out to other people and talk bad about other people. You actually think people want to listen to that? You think I'm going to call you and talk bad about somebody? When you're talking bad about somebody, they look at that person. They say, you know what? If he's talking bad about him, I can only imagine. I'm saying what his life is about. I'm saying all these people that are want to put bad comments on the internet or try to knock me or other people. Listen, you can't fool people. People are gonna know who you are. They're gonna look at your background, and see what you did in your life. So you can't fool people. You can't fool who you are.
No. And here's my view on my opinion about Chaz and his platform, what have you, and his ability to, if you will, separate himself from the good, the bad, and the ugly. Chaz Palminteri would not be as successful and as good in his craft as he has been if he were a dummy. Okay, he's no dummy.
I
He's
know.
not a fool.
No
No.
way. Hundred
Yeah,
percent. Hundred
yeah,
percent.
yeah. And 80% of his wisdom comes from his ability to meet somebody and assess them out based on gut instinct. That's the kind of guy he is. That's the way he comes across to me. Um, and he's very good at that, you know. Sure, he's not perfect. Nobody is perfect and what have you. But he he has he has an amazing ability to probably figure out, you know, who's pure bullshit and who is, you know, someone that, you know, um, that he wants to be associated with and what have you. So, uh, you know, he's had an incredible career. I mean, and what he's produced and what have you, just just incredible. He's a genius at what he does, though.
Yeah, he's good. I tell you, you know what? Really, you know, honestly, he's really good. I mean, look, he treated me like a gentleman. I respect the man, you know, and like I said, look, I'm very blessed in my life. I
Yeah,
really,
right, exactly.
I'm
Well,
blessed.
that's
I have a lot of people. I tell you, I have a lot of people. Uh, where I look, I would never ever think I'd be where I am today.
no, and that's the moral of the
And even my
story.
friend, I call him uncle. Even my friend
Yeah,
says, he said, Jimmy, he said,
yeah.
did you ever think you'd be in Palm Springs right now? You know?
Right,
So
right, right. And you know, isn't that the moral of this whole story? If you go down a different path that is different from what you once tread, look
absolutely.
at the rewards.
And
Look
that's
at
what and you know what? That's what I look at. Exactly what you're saying.
yeah,
My, my rewards are a lot different than other people's rewards.
yeah, yeah,
Other people's rewards because of the decisions you make. You know what? Your reward is a prison cell. I'm saying
yeah,
your
yeah.
reward is maybe a crack pipe. I don't know. These
Right,
are the things that people like and enjoy. I'm saying
right,
me, I want to be around good people. I want to be around my family. I want to be around my kids. I'm saying I want to
right.
work hard. I want to hopefully someday get my book out there. I'm saying I
Yeah,
want my story out there. And it's not the story everyone thinks because you know what? I'm growing and I'm changing it. I'm saying
yeah,
because
yeah.
I want because God is working on me.
Right, right.
And
Right, and you know, it's kind of like we're this. I was saying in the chat before you got on, I was doing my Rodney Dangerfield impression. I'm trying to warm up the room, you know, and I was telling people that you were going to be a little bit late, but that really we were going to talk about a completely different type of that Jimmy was going to really kind of head in a completely different direction. He was going to talk about life. And he was going to talk about his life. He was going to talk about, you know, where America is, where America's going, international politics, the war, all sorts of different issues that are much, much broader than, you know, what occurs on MobTube and what have you. MobTube is a story, no question. It's a story, and it's an evolving story with different characters that come into the story and go out of the story every single day that are interesting, that are entertaining, that are aggravating, that are insane, that are every stripe of person that you can imagine, both the good and the bad. But that's what it is. It's a story. It's an evolving story, and in a way, it's an American story. You know, of people who are very sick and people who are very well. You know, it's a microcosm of all of that. You'll see in MobTube that people peel away. People peel away from the story. You know, one example. You know, not to bring back old history, but whatever. It's just an example. Is the story of when Angel Gotti was a daily, tomato and salad throwing contest. I mean, it was unbelievable, you know. And then now, really, in the last couple months, she's kind of like faded away. My opinion, just for whatever it's worth, of Angel is that I think that she has the potential of doing some incredible things if she wanted to. You know, I have a lot of empathy and sympathy for her in this respect. I don't know of anybody that has endured the kind of trauma, the kind of pressure that she was under as a child, growing up in that kind of environment. I
Well,
mean, it had to be unbelievable.
well, and it's something you say that because even if I look at her life, you know,
Yeah,
she's grown up with a father that he's a wise guy. Everyone in her life is a wise guy, and
yeah,
I mean, so you're looking up to these people, and it's a crazy life, that life, because no one's going to work.
no,
I
no,
mean, they got rolls of money in their pockets. They got a diamond ring. They're looking sharp looking. They're coming home late at night. They're not spending no time with their families. I'll tell you that.
no,
They're not.
no.
And
But I
any
mean,
wise guys out there today, if you are, good for you, because
yeah,
the
yeah,
wise guys I knew didn't spend no
yeah,
time with their families.
yeah. Well, and from the perspective of what Angel had to be going through, and I'm not speculating, I'm just surmising, um, and that's all it is. But how would you like to be a child growing up in a circumstance where you know that your father could be dead any moment, could be indicted any moment, could be going to jail any moment, could be betrayed any moment? You had to always keep quiet and never tell the family secrets at every moment, okay? Where your friends of your family are being either killed, betrayed, going to jail, or what have you. I mean, for a child in the early going, in her formative years, to have to live under those circumstances and the news publicity attendant to all of the trials for not only her father, but her brother and what have you. Can you imagine what that does to the psyche of somebody, you know? um, where I think Angel could do just incredible things, and uh, and if I were like advising her and what have you, well, I wouldn't be, but if I were, she should get involved with women's issues, issues that involve, you know, women abuse and circumstances where women have been the victims of family circumstances and what have you, um, and so on and so forth. She would have a huge audience that she could help in that respect.
I tell you, what, you just opened up a door for her. Hopefully, maybe
Yeah,
she sees this, and you know what, the guy's
yeah,
right.
yeah. I mean, I don't know that she realizes how good she could be and how gifted she really is. I don't know that she realizes that. She has not yet realized her potential because, unfortunately, what's happened to her, remember what I said before, healthy people attract healthy people, and sick people attract sick people.
Very smart.
And when you surround yourself with all those sick motherfuckers, pardon my language, okay, this is what you get sick.
And
You
the,
look sick.
and
You sound sick.
the thing is, you know what? This is the thing. It's and one of them just got picked up and went to jail.
Yeah,
That's a
yeah.
content creator. And these
Hmm.
people, I mean, listen, this is the same circle that they were in.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah,
that's why I say you have to be careful who you choose as a
yeah,
friend and in
yeah,
your company and in your circle, because
yeah.
that same person that you choose and that you're talking to could make you look bad.
Yeah, here's a flip side of that coin. What I mean, and I don't mean to bring her up as an example. It's just I admire her, and that's Rita Gigante. Okay, she's in a like circumstance in many ways. You know,
Yes.
her father was a major figure in that life. Okay, her father, was presenting himself, obviously as this insane guy and this act and contrivance and what have you. Her father was also, you know. The potential of getting killed at any moment and at any day and going to jail and what have you. She had to live underneath those circumstances and what have you. And and uh, and yet Rita's view, as I understand her, and I've listened to her carefully, her view is she has not walked away from the love she has and had for her father. Nobody has ever said that she's ever done that. Okay. But she's also said, I recognize what that lifestyle can do to people. And now, in this side of her life, look at all that she's trying to help people. I may not believe in necessarily, the mediums and the the psychics and what have you. That may not be my belief system, but many people do. And she's helping innumerable people, you know, with that side of her life. Just her story and the way she presents it has such a calming quality about it that endures trust in her message if you listen to it carefully. So could Angel do something like that? Absolutely. And she would garner the kind of audience that Rita Gigante has garnered, that type of support and what have you. But it's like anything really, broadening this out for a moment. It's like anything in life, okay? Lots of people can and are required to re-engineer themselves into something else following a catastrophe that's occurred. And suddenly they're forced because of loss of job, loss of career, loss of going to jail, psychological issues, whatever. They have to come out and re-engineer themselves into something else because their past life, their past opportunities no longer exist. It's gone and never going to come back. So now they have to re-engineer themselves into something else. Again, not to harp on Chris's circumstance as an example, but basically he's a guy that worked in a factory, okay, and on third shift and what have you, and then that went away. He couldn't do it anymore because physically he couldn't do it anymore. All right, so this YouTube came along, and that was how he re-engineered himself in that way. There's lots of different ways you can do it to re-engineer yourself. There are these life coaches that specialize, in doing that.
Let me just, I just want to repeat this. Joey Doves is in a Lebanon County jail in Pennsylvania. He got arrested for a no trespassing charge. That's basically what I'm going to leave it. He has a bill of $2,500. If you have $2,500, he could get out. Obviously, he don't have the 2,500. Hopefully, he gets it, or hopefully he gets out. So that's basically it. County jail in Lebanon, PA. I don't know too much more of the story, but that's the story I know. And hopefully, he'll be home soon. But he's in jail for like 40 days now. I don't know what the charge is. He told me it's trespassing, but I'm not sure.
It'd be easy to find out. And for those who are willing and wanting and desiring to contribute, do your
yes
horrible things. Yes. Do your due diligence.
If you're looking to contribute to Joey, his bail is $2,500. He's at Lebanon County Jail in Pennsylvania. I mean, you can reach out and find out what's going on with him. If not, you can send me an email also, therealjimmycalandra@gmail.com. And, we can maybe help Joey together. Okay.
No. So anyway, I hope, the new show format here, today's in particular, we've kind of like gone all over the lot here and tried to cover a lot of different areas of interest and what have you. But I certainly would be open to hearing from anybody else that has ideas and wants to hear about different issues and what have you.
Yeah, absolutely. What I'm going to do is, Don, I want to do this with you more often.
Yeah, I'm always around.
Hopefully, we could put some dates together. Like I said, I want to get Kimberly back on here. I want to get some of my friends on here, and we could take notes next time.
Yeah.
This way, we got something to present.
Yeah, exactly. So, anyway, I speaking of Lila, the dog, the puppy, I gotta go and A, make certain that she hasn't eaten well a part of the house, and B, that she goes out for her walk. So until you and your kids get down here and can do it for me,
I'll tell you, I'm gonna take you up on that because my kids are definitely gonna want to see those dogs.
well, none of that, but then they can go to the stables and ride too.
No, absolutely, yeah, definitely go on the horses for sure. Absolutely, this summer we'll definitely do that. Maybe hit it up, come there for like a day or two.
Yeah, no, and it's easy too. Just come by train because you get off the train and you're literally 15. I mean, you get off the Amtrak and then get on the metro, and you go all the way to the end of the metro, and which is Ashburn, Virginia, and then I'm like 20 minutes away. I pick you up at the train station, or you can drive straight here. That's another way. That's easy.
Yeah, I like to drive.
Yeah, so that's easy too. That's straight down 95 over to 267, via the Greenway, and you're here. We're at the end of the Greenway, which Bull Run Mountain.
But yeah, I'm gonna take you up on that. The summertime's coming, and for sure.
Yeah.
But look, I'm definitely maybe we could do this again next week.
Yeah.
I'm saying
Yeah.
a couple of days.
Yeah.
I would like to continue to, do this. I love the fact that we could all get together. We have a little community over here. To everyone out there, thank you all for showing up. It's very appreciated. Don, thank you for co-hosting with me, and we're gonna continue to keep on doing this.
Yeah, and then maybe Kimberly can co-host too as well on
Absolutely.
On her type of issues as well. She's a lot better at this than I am actually. But
You're pretty good.
She's a star. She's a star. So ask the people that watch her show. She's the one that everybody votes for.
All right. Anyway. Well, I'm gonna let you go until next time.
All right.
All right.
All right. Take care. God bless.
Thank you, Don. Thank you.
Yep.
God bless.
Yep.
All right. Don Berlin, great guy. Thank you, Don, for co-hosting. I appreciate it. To everyone out there, Boston J, my guy, Beck Brooklyn, thank you for showing up. Gary Monteleone, Scott H, William Haynes, Nick Farragon, and everyone who showed up. Nikki's Girl, Live and Let Live, all you people. Barbara Rosentreader, all you people. Thank you for showing up. I appreciate it. And I'll see you guys soon. Hopefully we could do this again real soon. I love coming on here. I love talking to you people. I love seeing you people in the chat. And everyone have a good weekend. I'll see you in a day or two. Listen, do the right thing. Be kind to others. Give your life to God. And I don't wear it on my sleeve, but do the right thing. Take care of your children. Work hard. And I'm telling you, things are going to work out for you, for sure. With that said, I love you guys. Bye, guys. The streets will never make you grow. It's not a seed. It's a gutter. There's no happy endings in this life. So this is my message to you. The streets will never love you back.